Björn Ulvaeus has been winning hearts of ABBA fans worldwide through his performances with the group and is best known for his wonderful composition of music that threw the band to the heights of its fame. Composed of two married couples, it was inevitable that the band eventually developed animosity within itself, and such was the case with Ulvaeus and his wife Agnetha Faltskog, who performed with him in ABBA. The pair is known for their breathtaking discography on stage, but all that glitters is not gold, since beneath that surface was bubbling a rancid odor of discontent and animosity. Björn Ulvaeus had always been passionate about music and was a part of the Swedish band Hootenanny Singers before ABBA. Then, as fate had it, he crossed paths with Benny Andersson of the Hep Stars, and a lifelong connection was formed between the two. They united on their shared love for music and composition and dreamed of starting a band together, often teaming up to produce music or helping each other's bands with stuff at the studio. Ulvaeus was happy with this arrangement, but he still wanted something more, and his prayers were answered soon enough on a set. When he was filming a nostalgic television special in 1969, he met a young lady, Agnetha Faltskog, who he was immediately captivated by. She was just 18 at the time and had performed her first solo single only recently and was relatively inexperienced. But she also shared his love for music and was a wonderful singer, which sparked a connection between them unlike any other. Ulvaeus thought he had met his soulmate, and so began a relationship that would soon be the reason behind both their biggest successes and most painful downfalls. For Faltskog and Ulvaeus, love at first sight was no longer a myth, and they felt like they were two peas in a pod. From the moment they met, it was obvious that their interests aligned and they wanted the same things in life, despite the gaps between their ages and experience. They were committed and planning to get married, dreaming of a blissful life together where they would be singing by each other's side to their heart's content. They had their wedding on July 6, 1971 in the village of Virum, with Andersson performing the organ, and promised one another a lifetime of love and support. They had a beautiful first few years of the relationship and became parents to two children, their daughter Linda in 1973 and their son Peter in 1977. Their happiness, it appeared though, had only begun. During this time, Andersson and Ulvaeus had been running their partnership, and their duo was titled Björn Benny, but there had been something missing all along. When Faltskog came into the picture, they understood that the band had needed another member, and soon it was complete, with Andersson's girlfriend Annie Fried Lyngstad joining the band. And hence the two couples formed ABBA, a partnership that was about to reach iconic heights. ABBA, of course, was widely successful, with songs hitting international charts and fans around the globe being desperate to see their favorite artists in action. Their first song together, titled People Need Love, scaled highly, especially in comparison to their small label, and their victory at the Eurovision 1974 contest together sealed the deal. Soon they were touring all over the world and performing in different cities, with many of their performances breaking charts. But among this success was something sinister brewing, and it so happened in the marriage between Björn Ulvaeus and Agnetha Faltskog. There were many things under the surface that fans and even those around them had not been aware of, and some of these came to light in the aftermath of their relationship going up in flames. But that is not to say there were no telltale signs before. The first sign came when the two returned from their trip after the Eurovision contest, but found that their daughter did not recognize them. Ulvaeus said they had to go away for almost a month, and when they came back, it was tough to see that their kid would not come to them. The band wanted them and their children wanted them, and it felt like they could not give their full to either, and when they tried, the other suffered horribly. And their children were not the only ones who suffered. What came in between the most was their marriage, and so it happened that it took the brunt of their burdens too. It was hard for them to be together as it was because of their intense popularity, which led them to be on the receiving end of many outrageous gestures by fans. Sometimes the attention got so much that Faltskog suffered night terrors where she feared her fans would come and take away everything that was there. During these times, Ulvaeus tried to be her rock, but it was evident that the expectations were getting to him as well, and their marriage was slowly crumbling because of the pressure. The final blow came along in the late 70s when the band reported their highest success together, and the combined pressure was too much to handle for the couple. They separated from each other in the early 1979 and began to live away, officially filing for divorce in 1980. Although divorce itself is incredibly taxing, they had to put on a brave face and reported that they had a happy divorce to their fans who could not understand what was happening. They acted like everything was fine on camera, but their music said otherwise, which formed the beginning of the ultimate breakup song for all ABBA fans. Hence, Björn Ulvaeus began writing the lyrics of Winner Takes It All, the music that would become a chart-topping hit and one of their last gifts together to the world. For his writing process for the song, he always had a bottle of brandy next to him, even though he did not use drugs or alcohol for writing songs. But the process for that one was incredibly personal and painful. He told the London Times March 26, 2010, that while usually it's not a good idea to write when you are drunk, it all came out on that one. By the time he had written "The Gods May Throw Their Dice," the bottle was empty. The difficult part came when he had to run it by his, now ex-wife, Agnetha Faltskog, which was jarringly vulnerable. When the time came to perform on stage, Faltskog sang "But Tell Me, Does She Kiss Like I Used to Kiss You?" making the audience erupt and ending a once beautiful relationship for good. Or not. Reality was not as poetic as the song and turned dark soon after the performance. In 1981, Ulvaeus began to date another woman whom he married and went on to have 2 more kids, with which was incredibly disturbing for Faltskog. She wrote in her 1997 book, "As I Am," we always told the media that it was a happy divorce, which of course was a front. Obviously, we all know there are no such things as happy divorces, especially when there are children involved. She had to go into therapy for a long time and learn to cope with the end of their tumultuous relationship, especially broken because it looked like Ulvaeus was doing just fine. But that was not the case at all. It turns out that the separation was as hard on him as anyone else, and perhaps he was just better at masking it or using music as a catharsis. He said that going through divorce is difficult, as anyone would know who's done it. That was of course taking up my thoughts. Then, referencing his song, he continued, "But there was not one winner in the case of us." The divorce had taken a hit on both of them and the rest of the band, who were going through their own separation, and this resulted in ABBA finally parting ways in 1982 after a decade-long successful career together. It appeared that things had finally grown too somber, and as Ulvaeus said, the band had an explosive story and a creative period, but then it all suddenly stopped with everyone except him and Anderson going their separate ways. As of now, they have recently come together to produce new songs which were featured in a virtual tour with avatars in 2021. A documentary has also been released on the band titled ABBA Against the Odds, which features their stories and complicated interpersonal relationships. Now 79, Björn Ulvaeus says in the documentary about the band that one thing we learned was that everything starts with a song. I think great music is created from the human experience, deep emotions. Writing a lyric is something in between a poem and a melody. It would conjure up not only a mood but images sometimes in me. And so they continue, still singing together for old time's sake, inspiring fans and critics worldwide. What is your favorite ABBA breakup song? Tell us in the comments below.